Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Caseware webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today, we're looking at the year-end close process, or the various year-end close processes across some of our templates. This is focusing on year-end close within the desktop products, or the hybrid products, as we call them. So we're going to be looking at the processes, some of the processes involved in AuditAdvanced, AccountsAdvanced, that sort of thing, also including SmartSync. But I won't give away the whole agenda now. If we just jump to the next slide, you'll be able to see that our content today is going to be brought to you by James Wright, Education and Media Technician. My name is Tom Jeffrey. I'm another Education and Media Technician. James will be delivering the content today. And I'll be just keeping an eye on everything, making sure the session runs smoothly. I'll also be monitoring your questions. So a bit of housekeeping here. As you're probably all familiar, joining previous webinars, we've got the Q&A option there on the toolbar, so it's slightly different on desktop as it is to mobile. But you've got the Q&A option there. Pop your question in and we will answer it. If we can do on the live, we're going to allocate some time at the end for Q&A, but if we don't, then we'll get back to you directly after the session, and we'll also include it in a Q&A document that will accompany the recording of the session, which we'll put on the help site. We're going to signpost that a bit later on. And we'll also pop the recording on our YouTube channel, which will also signpost. But as I say, pop your questions in. Any questions welcome, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. I'll pop over to James now, and we'll have a look at the agenda and get started.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, so in regards to today's webinar, the agenda is as follows here. So we're going to be looking at preparing the Caseware desktop engagement file for a year-end close. So everything to do with cleaning up and making sure that you're following the best practices to have a smooth year-end close process. And the signatory options and the other accounts completion procedures, so the differences that you might find between some of our templates in regards to that section of the wizard. The trial balance, wizard and roll forward cells. The year-end close cleanup lockdown procedures, again, making sure you've got a good file basis to go off of for your actual roll forward, and also the SmartSync roll forward overview. So we're not going to do another roll forward as it's a pretty similar process, but there are a couple of minute changes to be aware of in regards to SmartSync. So without further ado, I'll just load up the first file for us today. So that will be this. There we go. This is just a normal set of accounts, FRS 102, as you can see there, full accounts. This is a non-SmartSync set of accounts as well. So with anything in Caseware, if you're unsure, of course, of a change you're about to make, we always recommend you make a backup first of all. And a year-end close process is no different, really. If you want to take a backup, feel free to do so. To do your backup, if you don't know already, select File in the top left on the working papers, then go down to Backup there. You'll then be able to select the backup location and also tick to include subfolders there and press OK. All it will do is make a copy of the file, which will be a compressed version. So you can go and find it within that file location, double click on it, and that will extract the compressed version for you later on if you need to. We don't need to do that on today's show, hopefully not. But we'll get cracking on with the next steps here. So what I like to do is we'll cover the wizard aspect. Just pull that up here. There we go. So this is the wizard for this set of accounts, of course. Doing year-end close, you would have gone through the wizard, gone through the accounts, finalized everything, and make sure you're happy with the presentation. Then you would move back to the wizard and jump into this completion screen here. To set the file up for a year-end close, you must first lock the file down. So to do so, it's coming through this completion screen and adding printed signatory names, dates, and also filing with the regulatory bodies there. We'll also go through a couple of the options, which we'll display in a second as well. But essentially, that's what you want to add in here, especially those printed dates. Then when you go back to the file next time, you'll see that there'll be a nice orange lockdown icon in the top right corner. It just stops anyone from taking any KL updates to the file, so refreshing any notes or anything like that. You can still break the file if you were to do something like a remove and replace. You will find that it will remove the note for you, but because it's been locked, it won't be able to process any new notes onto the set of accounts. So just be wary of that. If you are going to do remove and replace, just remove that the dates off of here, so it comes out that lock mode, and then you can remove and replace that note whenever you like, really. If you were in that scenario where it was too late and you just done a remove and replace and removed the file completely, just jump back into the accounts prep side of things, so the accounts prep table, find that note and just turn it back on. It's as simple as that. Perfect. Without further ado, we'll jump on here and we'll pop on the correct options for a year-end close. So first of all, we want to make sure it's set to final accounts, printed signatory names, printed dates, and in this scenario, we would want to do filing with regulatory bodies. And there we go, it's got to pop up. Perfect. There is a second option down here to lock the file. So locking updates for the client approval copy. In essence, what this means is if you're going to send it over to a client and you don't want them to take any updates on there, you can select this option. It'll also ask you to add in a date entered, enter the date, that you send it to the client. And once you've done that, it'll also have another date below as to which the time in which the client approved it. So we won't be doing that for today. That's just something to be aware of. We will, however, be popping in our dates here, and just for the ease of today, I'll just select today's date on both of these. And in theory, this is enough to lock the file down next time we look at it. There's also this area at the bottom for the signatories, and obviously make sure that the correct people are under the correct areas here. So your balance sheet first, second option, second is optional, sorry. Strategic report and director's report, and then all the names will be shown below. Perfect. So the next time you come back to your file like this, it should load in. Oh, yeah, it's just gone. There we go. 2 seconds. We'll wait for that to load up. But we can see there we've got the orange icon in the top right there, just noting that it's been locked down. Perfect. Now let's have a look at the charity side of things, that completion wizard again. So I'll just load up our charity file here in the wizard. Perfect. So it looks exactly the same right now, but as soon as we go through and add in our printed dates and our filing, you may have noticed that we've had this signatories area populate below. I'm not going to do the dates for the time being, but we'll just go through the options that are different here. So you may find that you've got one of these. You will find that you've got one of these question mark buttons for the signatories. These are just some further options which you can look at later on. Essentially, what this will do is remove this second option for the number of signatories on the balance sheet there. So if you were to tick that, it would remove that option. I'm going to leave that for today. You'll also find that you've got this sort trustees report signatories as well. So whenever you select this, it'll give you this pop-up window. And as you can see at the top, this can be rearranged by dragging and dropping the names around. So if you want Gary to be first on here, and we can change the order nice and easily. If you wanted to assign them a kind of like status, so the chair of trustees, you just simply click the name. This is kind of like a cycle through, so it's not just the chair of trustees. If you were to click it again, you just get a trustee. And then if you click it a third time, it reverts you back to the default state of just blank. If you made a mistake on here and you wanted to reset it to the default, just select the update and reset. However, if you're happy with your changes, click to save and close. So that's the small difference between charity and normal corporate accounts. Just something to be aware of. Perfect. Just going to close that down and just pop back to this here. Wonderful. The next section we're just going to go over is the balance sheet presentation. So just the signature options on the balance sheet here. So it's just something to be aware of. You may notice again, we've got this question mark options button. So if we select this, there we go. We'll have this window pop up with a couple of options just to change the presentation here. You may notice that I'm able to change the presentation even though this file has been locked down. And that's just because it's just a presentation change. It's nothing to do with removing that note out and rebuilding it as such. It's just on the face of the accounts. So I can make this change. As you can see, we've got a couple of options here. So if required, we can increase the space, the number of space lines between the signature and the actual note itself. So we can increase that to say 7. You'll also find that we've got this option to include 1 or 2 additional signature rows if required. Now we only have the option to add 1 in here, but what you'll find is when you select that option, it will then populate the second option to add a second one in afterwards. So we can add 2 of those in, just go maximum here. We've also got another option here to tick here to print the second signature column. Again, that's automatically selected in this scenario here. And then we have more a presentation change, but it's tick here to add a printed dotted lines above the signature line. So essentially for someone to sign on. This can be changed if you select this box here. You'll notice the naming will change as well in that description. So you've also got solid lines there as well. So in this scenario, if you prefer solid compared to dotted lines, you can make that change. And we can turn that off as well just by selecting that again. You also have another option just to click here to print dates after the signatures. Pretty simple. Click there to add them after the signatures. And then also this populates another option to add in additional spacing before the date row. And then to save any of these changes or reset them, in fact, you can press this button, but to save them, press the exit button in the bottom right there. I know this is a bit extreme, this example, but it just shows you all the options that are available there. Perfect. So that covers the balance sheet. And of course, if you were wanting to check these changes before, say, sending it to a PDF to double check them, you can just use the F4 key to jump straight to print preview, or up in the top left corner here, we've got the button to show print preview for you. So that will be a fair representation of how this will look once they're printed off. Wonderful. Alrighty, so let's jump over to the wizard roll forward and just cover a couple of areas that will and will not be changed during the year-end close process. So open up this wizard again here. So one thing to bear in mind, of course, we're doing a roll forward for a reason. We're not creating a brand new file for the next year. We're trying to save some time. And in addition to pulling forward the figures, for example, our current year will then become our prior year, as I'm sure you're aware. The wizard will also retain some information as well. So namely, you'll find in the start area, or it will retain the client type and more or less that kind of information here. There will, however, be some areas which you'll have to enter again, like member of a group, that kind of thing, because of course the status of the company could change between periods. Another area to be aware of that you will have to enter in again on the year-end close is the company size. Of course, like with the TB, the figures will be shifted back 1 year. So we'll have that current year column completely blank. We'll need to enter in the company employee amount in there. Perfect. So that kind of covers what will change on the wizard side of things. Now let's take a look at more of the working papers side. I'll just open up our working papers file for this account here. Wonderful. So in regards to the working papers, of course, you may find that you want to retain some information on the roll forward, say documents which you've added in after the fact, which aren't on the default templates. They're not populated when you make a brand new set of accounts through Caseware. Namely, we've got this here, so this PDF of the accounts. Now, of course, I don't really want to keep this PDF of accounts for the next year's file. They're not really too relevant. What I would, however, want to do is maybe have the PDF of next year's accounts on that file as well. But I might forget to do that next year. So what we can do is set up what we call a placeholder through Caseware. So if you right-click the document and hit properties there, you'll find that you have a couple of tick boxes down here. So you've got this retain on cleanup. Oh, deselect that, retain on cleanup, which will essentially keep this folder on here throughout the cleanup, so you'll see it next year. But of course, again, I don't want the prior year set of accounts as a PDF on the current year file necessarily. However, I do want this reminder, this placeholder reminder. So just below that, you can select the roll forward as placeholder. In essence, what this would do is select OK on there. It won't change won't change visually on this set of accounts, but when you do the roll forward, the icon will change to that of a placeholder. I'll just try and find one on this file actually. I can probably just enter one in for you here, new, and there we go, placeholder, just as an example here. Don't need a name on that. So the example here, this would be the look of a placeholder, and it's essentially just as you saw there, a name, a placeholder name. So I would then be able to go in and add a document onto this placeholder here. Perfect. Okay. So we've gone through that side of things. Now I'm going to jump over to the working papers audit file that I've got set up, just to cover through the cleanup process you might want to do, as well as the lockdown process, just to retain any files that you might want. I'll just grab that file, bear with me 2 seconds. And here we go. Perfect. So I've got this file here. This is my audit file. And we're just going to go through and do a lockdown and cleanup on this file. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I'm not losing any of the documents which I might want to retain for next year. For example, that placeholder document, I don't want that necessarily to be cleaned out. It's important to me. I want it to be on the next year's file. A better way to go through and ensure that files are, in fact, safe from a cleanup process, instead of going through and going properties and checking that they're set to be roll forwards. Sorry. I can instead right-click the top here, hover over Show, and then select Retain on Cleanup. And you'll notice this gives me a nice big column with tick marks in it, just to display easily what documents I will be retaining. And we can also do this again for, you might have seen there, roll forward as placeholder. We've also got it for roll forward in general, and also lockdown. So you might want to set your working papers file up like this, and these changes will be saved to your instance of working papers. So if I were to open up another file completely now, I would then also see these columns visible. So you don't have to do it for every instance of every file. And it's a nice, easy way just to turn on and off. For example, now going to be slow on me, 2 seconds. Just to turn on and off what gets retained, and also have a visual aid as to what will be saved for next year. So we just pop up to the engagement tab at the top here, and you'll see to the side there's this cleanup button just next to our year-end close. You'll notice these are all under this manage tab. We're going to be coming back to that later, the fact that they're all linked. But we can run a cleanup on its own just by selecting cleanup here. You'll find in this pop-up wizard that it asks you to specify what you're looking to clean up and what you're looking to retain. So we can retain history and milestones if we wanted to. I'm not interested in that for today, so I can just click next. It's just then going to show you a log of what will be deleted. And of course, if you've got some documents which have broken links, for example, that you've pulled in and they aren't working, in Caseware senses they aren't working, it will also display that here as well. And to simply run the cleanup process, press finish on there. It's just telling me that essentially it's going to be deleting these items for me, and it's irreversible. Again, coming back to that backup process, if you're unsure of anything you're about to do, just take a backup. So I'll click yes on there. Perfect. And while that's running, wonderful. I think it's just already, there we go. While it's running in the background there, we're just going to move on to the next section here, and we'll pop back and check in with this later. Okay, so I'm just going to jump back to our normal set of accounts here. Wonderful. Our FRS 102 set of accounts, and we're just going to go through the lockdown process. Now, you may be thinking, I thought I locked down the file earlier when I did the completion. That's correct. You locked down the accounts themselves. You protected those and made them ready for year-end close. However, you can also lock down the working papers side of things, so the actual documents itself. And this is probably more prevalent for the audit side of things. However, it can be used on all of our templates. And instead of it being a kind of like a password lockdown as such, it's more of an audit trail. So I can lock down this file right now, right here, and then say, for example, Tom would be able to unlock it on his machine. But the reason, but to unlock the file, he would have to provide a reason for it, and that reason would then be logged. So he would say that he had to come in and amend one of the documents, and then he would relock it afterwards. Perfect. So we'll just go through that process here. So again, just under engagement, and again under the little manage section here, we've got lockdown. And one thing I want you to be aware of is just observe how the file looks at the moment, and the icons themselves, and also just down here in this corner before we do the lockdown. There are a couple of options on this pop-up wizard. You can lock down now for the immediate effect, and you can also lock down at a predetermined date as well. This is again, if you're in a jurisdiction that needs the files to be locked down at predetermined date, it's useful there. But for today, we're just going to be doing a lockdown now. Click next, and as I said earlier, to pay attention to the fact that these icons are all under the manage section. They all appear within this area here as well. So obviously we're doing a lockdown itself, but we can run a cleanup at the same time as well as a year-end close. So it's always an option. If you wanted to do everything all at once, you can do it that way. We're going to ignore this for the time being, and we're just going to click next. We just want to lock down the files. Click next, and then click finish on there. We'll just give that a second there. And that will run through the lockdown process. Just keep an eye on these icons to the left here and watch how they'll change. Now, lockdowns are special because once you've done a lockdown to a file, it will always be there. It will always be evidenced on the file. So if you're unsure as to if a file has a lockdown on it or has had lockdown on it in the past, you'll always be able to see little grey padlocks over the icons, as they should appear in a second. Just wait for that to go through. I think it's also because we've got this audit file running in the background as well. Yeah, so it's taking up a bit of power there. I have to wait for that to finish.
James, just while we wait for that to go through the process there, so you skipped past the screen where you had the option to run the year-end close and the cleanup, and the deleting of the broken files and that sort of thing as part of the lockdown process. So some of our viewers might be thinking, well, should I select to run the year-end close now as part of the lockdown, or would it be better to do it separately? Is it a preference? Is there a benefit either way?
I would say, yeah, it's more of a preference personally. When I've done it in the past, I prefer to do them separately, so I know that everything's done. It's just a state of mind thing, really. To my knowledge, there's no advantage to doing it separately or all at once. Of course, doing it all at once is a bit more efficient in regards to your time, but I'd make sure you're comfortable with each process. And my recommendation was, yeah, make sure you're comfortable with each process individually, and then you can also go down the route of locking down a file and also selecting to perform all of those at once. But
I guess also you'd be wanting to make sure that you're completely comfortable with the files in its current state before running a year-end close. So if you were to lock it down first and you didn't run the year-end close at the same time, you'd have the opportunity to make any further amendments, any corrections, that sort of thing. And then you could run the year-end close separately. Of course, as part of much of our guidance, we recommend, or we would advise, running your year-end close when you're just about to start working on the new file rather than at the end of the work on the previous file, if that makes sense. We can provide clarification what I mean there if you need it. So please feel free to pop a question in. Yes, so in summary, then you can choose to run the year-end close at the same time as the cleanup and lockdown, or separately, depending on what stage you are in terms of the work on the file, because you may need to unlock the file again and make some amendments.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, so now the other file is finished doing, I believe it was the cleanup from earlier. We've first of all got to close down our case view instances, so that wizard and the accounts. We'll just wait for that to finish and close down. There we go. Get rid of that there. Perfect. I'll just grab that file back again. Fantastic. And now it's doing the lockdown process for us. It's just saving the milestones at the moment and running through that process, but we will see that the lockdown icon will appear against all of these files that you see here. Also keep an eye on the bottom right here. You'll also see a padlock appear there as well. So you can obviously see the state of a file by looking at the files and the bottom right. Tom, while this is running, do we have any other questions coming in at the moment, just to make the most efficient use of time?
Yeah, so a more general webinar-based question. Yes, just had a question. Is they're going to be a recording of the session, and absolutely there is. So just to recap, we'll be popping that on the YouTube channel and on the help site with a copy of any questions and a handout as well. So those will be available I suspect they'll be available by the end of the day, but certainly tomorrow those will be on the help site and on YouTube for you.
Perfect. Oh, and if by magic that's just finished in time. Wonderful. So as you can see there, we've got all these documents grayed out because we've locked down the file, as well as this little icon on the right there, and down here, oopsie, we've got this lock icon. Now, of course, I might want to come in here and unlock it later on. I haven't locked myself out the file at all. It's just a case of selecting the engagement and unlock button up here. I would then need to provide a reason as to why I'm unlocking, but for the case of speed today, I won't do that. But you would just type it in here. You also have the option to keep unlocked until relocked as well. Normally, if you just close the file down, it would relock it for you. Perfect. So I'll just click cancel on there. And we'll move on to the lockdown process, well, the year-end close process, sorry, for the SmartSync side of things. So I'm going to grab the exact same file, just uploaded to SmartSync here. So here we go. It's uploaded to SmartSync, and that's evidenced by in the bottom right here. You see the online status. We're actually going to be starting here. You select that and then select the top option, properties. We'll then be able to see which users have a copy of the file and in fact, which users are online. So as you can see here, we've got Tom, who's got a copy of this file on his machine. These are what we refer to as child copies, and the one on the server is what we refer to as a parent copy. I can see the status in which my file is synced to the parent copy as well here. So before doing a year-end close, just pay attention and make sure that you are fully synced with the file, the parent file, because obviously you want to be rolling forward the most recent version. Okay, and in regards to the status of people who are online as well at the moment who have the file, we can see that Tom is actually within the file because he's got a coloured in little Earth logo there. If that was grayed out, he'd still have a child copy on his machine, and he still would be able to access that. But of course, he's not online at the moment. There is an issue presented with the fact Tom having a child copy, and we need to make sure that we abandon his copy, so break the links between his copy and the parent, and ensure that we are the only person with a copy before we do this year-end close process. Another way also to check that if someone's on the file at the moment, there we go, is to go to View, Show, User List. We can see here that Tom is on the file, and he's actually within the file. He's got that open. So now I'll just request if Tom, you could just jump out the file for me, and we should see that user list update. Now, of course, you need, there we go, perfect. Of course, you need everyone off the file before you even attempt to do an abandon of their SmartSync copy. And if we jump back to properties, there we go. We can now see he's got a grayed out logo there. Perfect. So now what we can do is just close down these windows and jump up to Tools here, the Tools tab. Of course, we've made sure that we're fully synced and we're happy with our copy. And of course, you would then lock it down as before through the wizard. We would then click this maintenance button here. There are quite a few options on here, but the one that we're interested in today is the fourth one down, this abandoned SmartSync copies, synchronized copies. It just explains that it's going to break the link between the parent and the child. This doesn't actually delete the file off of, say, Tom's computer. He's going to retain a copy. It will just be a local copy for him, and whenever he opens it up, it will say that it's a broken SmartSync copy. After we've done the year-end close, there's nothing stopping Tom coming back into his file or taking a new version, in fact, off the SmartSync. But he can come back into his file, which is stored locally, and restore the link to the parent. Of course, the reasoning for that, you wouldn't necessarily want to go into a private file and start making changes to it necessarily, but if you had to, that's the way of doing it. So we're just going to click abandon there and click next. Just wait for that to load up. It's then going to present us with a screen showing who has a copy and who we're going to be abandoning, because of course this is a maintenance wizard. You may just want to abandon one person's copy, irrelevant of doing a year-end close. So we just wait for that to load up. It's just taking a little bit longer today. because of course I'm sharing my screen and running a live webinar here, so it's always the case. It does slow down a tiny bit. Just give that a second. Tom, do we have any other questions in at the moment?
We don't have any questions that slot in nicely to this bit here, so I'll save those till the end.
No problem at all. Okie dokie. So yeah, as I said earlier, we've got this screen here. We've got my copy on here. I'm logged in as Caseware Learner, and we also have Tom here as well. You can scroll across to the right. Make sure again that you're synchronized. Exact same screen as the property screen. What you then want to do is just select Tom, and of course, if you had any other colleagues who had copies, select them as well, and then select next and finish. It's just going to show you again a prompt telling you what it's about to do, and if you're sure that you want to do it, click finish on here, and that will abandon Tom off of this. This will abandon his link to the parent file. Now, if we click properties, we can see that I'm the only user in here. And at this point, we'll be fine to go ahead and run the normal year-end close process. Perfect. Now, there are some users who would prefer to do this on the browser. That's completely fine. So I'll just run through that process for you. There we go. Just log in. And pull that onto the screen. Wonderful. So again, we've got this UK FRS 102 entity on our cloud, on our training server. And we've got the copy of our file down here. So it's 14. Well, it's updated from yesterday, the other day, sorry. So we've got this file here. Exact same premise. You'd select the file, go to the 3-dot menu in the top right, and then abandon SmartSync copies. And you can do it through there. There is one other difference with the SmartSync roll forwards that you might want to be aware of. And I'll just click engagement up here, year-end close. And it's this button here, this publish to publish the next year file. And essentially what that's going to do is publish directly to that engagement that you saw, the entity, that you saw earlier, which is the folder for your potentially client, your company. And it's just going to upload that there and make a parent file with this new file we're going to be creating. Perfect. Alrighty, so for the main event, the roll forward itself, we're just going to do the roll forward to the basic file here, so the non-SmartSync version, which has been locked down from earlier and cleaned up as well. First, we'll head to engagement, then year-end close under this manage section again. Within here, as you saw earlier, we've got our file path, so where this is going to be saved to, as well as the file name. So for today, I'm just going to pop in FRS 102. Full, and then say give it this year's date. Perfect. There are a couple of options under here. A lot of them you can play with yourself, and some of them might not be relevant to everyone. But there is one at the top here which is quite useful. So it's just the compress the prior year file. So if you select this, it's going to take the prior year file and simply compress it just to save a bit of storage space. Of course, if you want to come back to it later, just select it on your drive and it will expand it for you. So yeah, it just saves a bit of space. Perfect. So moving down, we've got this update the prior year balance. Of course, you want to update your prior year balance data. And we also have this update the next year's opening balance data with. So this is an example where you might want to pull figures through from the prior year data into the opening balance for current year data. We're not going to be using this for today. However, you can just jump in using the drop down, select the account numbers from which you want to use, and we will be providing more information, I believe, from the handout, which we sent to you, which will be available, on the help site after this webinar. So yeah, there'll be more information in regards to this there. We're going to skip over these options here because we won't be using them today, as well as the included in next year filed section. Of course, it's pretty self-explanatory, the areas in which you're going to include next year's file, foreign exchange, that kind of thing, the commentary text. The next thing to do is to select OK. We're just going to deselect that there. And we're going to select this one and might not compress. And then we select OK here. To ensure that you've closed your case view file, so that's the wizard and the accounts, it will shout at you if they're still open. So yeah, just ensure that they're all closed down before doing this. And now it's just going to run through the process of doing a year-end close. What you may find, you might be a bit confused the first time you do this. You may think that it's just kind of finished and stopped. It's not done anything. But in fact, what it's done is closed down the file that you were working on, the now prior year file. And it's automatically opened up this new current year file for you. So you will see that the name will change up at the top here. We'll get that 2023 date in there. Perfect. So this is actually run through the process for us. And as you can see up here, we've got a change date. And we now don't have those gray locks on our icons, nor do we have it down here in the right. So we can tell it's the brand new file. And it's been created for us, so we can go through the same process, do the wizard, create the accounts, and continue from there. That covers everything I wanted to go through on today's webinar. So if we just go through and see if we've got any other questions, Tom, we'll see if we can answer those for you now.
So we've got a couple of questions that we'll go through, but please continue to submit your questions if you have them. If we can't answer them live, we'll get back to you afterwards. We do have a question about using lockdown on AccountsAdvanced files, because of course lockdown would be a common feature commonly used on AuditAdvanced, but presumably you can use it on accounts file if you wish. The functionality is there.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I think I asked and answered the question in one, didn't I?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can use lockdown for AccountsAdvanced files as well, although it's more commonly used for audit files. The process is different for there's more steps involved for rolling forward a group file, isn't there? But I believe we have got some more guidance on that.
Yes, yeah, that'll be on the help site for rolling forward group files. Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions. We've got questions coming in thick and fast, so that's great. Thank you very much for those. We'll see if we can answer them. If not, we'll come back to you with an answer. So I'll go from top to bottom. So I'm going to put James on the spot now. We need to update Caseware. Should we do this before or after we roll forward the file?
Yeah, so if it's a EPAC update, then of course take it as soon as possible, really. As I said earlier, with the prior year file, if you're going to be doing a KL update on, say if it was you created the file, say 8 months ago, and you're happy with it then, and you locked down then, or we're waiting to lock down until now, of course you don't want to change the disclosures with the latest updates. You don't want to make more work for yourself. So what I would suggest is do your lockdown, do the roll forward. Don't worry about the KL updates now. However, your new file, just ensure that you've got all the updates on that one when you create it, because you want to be up to date with all the latest disclosures going forwards. And
I'm also wondering, sorry, James.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering when we're talking about updating Caseware itself, as in working papers. So if we're going from working papers, say 21 to 22, before the 21 end of life at the end of May, just thought I'd shoehorn that in there. Then of course, when you open the file that's been created on 21 in 22, it's going to ask you if you want to convert it to 22. So we have additional advice there. I think we'll pop that into the Q&A document and add that to the help site. Let's go through some other ones we've got here. So what is the best way to clear prior year trial balances? We have 5 years worth of data. Do we need to keep all of these?
So the trial balance itself, I don't see any harm in having it on there. Personally,
we do have there is functionality to clear prior year, because you'll have your options when you're rolling forward for what you want to roll forward. Appreciate that we went through the year-end close dialogue very quickly, but there is additional guidance. Again, it's in the handout, but we'll point you in the right direction for the best practices there. Just conscious of the time. We've got, I don't know if this is the right forum. However, can you extract a trial balance mapping from one Caseware document to use in another? So we do have, so the copy components function allows you to use trial balance, move a trial balance or copy a trial balance from one engagement to another. We do have lots of copy components guidance, which I think you'll find useful. So we'll pop that in the Q&A document as well. We also have a copy components webinar coming up, although I can't remember when it is. But I'll just have a quick look on our events page. But if you head over to caseware.co.uk/events, then you'll be able to sign up to attend our copy components webinar on the 17th of May. But of course, until then, there is guidance on the help site. So I think that brings us to, I think we'll wrap up the Q&A there. But if we go through the slides, I'll give you a bit of signposting on where to go to get your answers. And we'll let you go and have your lunch, whatever else it is that you need to do. So if you go to caseware.co.uk/events, you'll see our full schedule. It includes the copy components webinar that's coming up, and you'll be able to read the agendas there, register to attend. Next slide, we've just got a couple of plugs here. So if you weren't aware already, we have a LinkedIn page. That's Caseware Client Services, or Client Services Caseware UK Limited. That's where we signpost our webinars, any updates and news within the business. So you can follow us there just to be kept up to date. Any webinar recordings and quick vids and other video guidance goes onto our Client Services YouTube channel. And this webinar will go on there very shortly. So if you subscribe and set your notifications, then we'll let you know when new videos are available. And finally, if you go to help.caseware.co.uk, then you'll be able to see all of our articles, guidance, quick vids, webinars, and you can see all of that content without logging in. So there's no login required for our general guidance. There is a login level, which is for things like downloads, and you can get in touch with our support team if you believe that you should have access to the secured area. But otherwise, all of the guidance, including the article that would include the Q&A document and webinar recording from today, will be available there. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Thanks very much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed the webinar. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.